Welcome to LaughNapkin. Today I have 3 stories for episode 3 of r/MaliciousCompliance. So hit that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Show up to work in a hurricane or be fired? How about no? A short one, but this is the story of how I grew a backbone. This happened a few years ago. I worked at a cheap chain restaurant. There are 3 total in my county here. It's important to note that the company was founded in a northern state of the US, and they're still headquartered there. Well, one year, hurricane season was in full swing, and a right monster of one was looking to make a direct hit. I've lived in this state most of my life, and anything below a Cat 3 is just an annoyance. But this sucker was a Cat 4 and still several days out. Everyone in the county was freaking out. Landfall is supposed to be Friday, and it's Monday. Everything was selling out quickly, which made people even more panicked. My house is older and not very strong, so I'm very worried. And of course, everyone at work is wondering when our store is going to close. Monday, several employees, including myself, are concerned that people have been scheduled for Friday. Management: we have to get authorization from headquarters to close. Me: well, do they understand it's a Cat 4? I need to get packed and go up to my boyfriend's house. Management: if we remain open, you'll have to find someone to cover your shift. Tuesday, we hear that the other 2 stores are being closed because they're both in mandatory evacuation areas. Coworker: why are we still going to be open even though the other 2 are closing? Management: they have to. We don't. Headquarters hasn't authorized it. Me: okay, but just because the store is in a safe location doesn't mean the roads getting there will be. We need to close. Management: look, I'm not happy either, but we have to wait for headquarters. Wednesday morning, several people are calling out already, or just flat out quitting. Management: okay, just a reminder to everyone that if you're a no-call, no-show, you'll be fired. Me: seriously? Headquarters is keeping us open? Management: well, they said that since the storm is supposed to hit the next town over, we're not closing. Me: do they understand how a hurricane even works? Our governor is urging everyone to evacuate if they're able to. Management: well, we're having a conference call with them tomorrow morning and we'll make a decision then. Me: and if they say no? Management: then you have to show up or be fired. During that shift, myself and most other employees joined together and said that we would all call off. Can't fire everyone at once, right? One by one, we went into the office and told them that we wouldn't be coming in until Monday or we quit. Since it was a show up in the middle of a hurricane or be fired, those who weren't working that day called in and said the same. Well, they had the conference call very early Thursday morning. And lo and behold, headquarters was gracious enough to allow us to close. Only issue is that management now had to prepare the building by themselves, being that the rest of us had already gone inland or to shelters. We would have been glad to help Tuesday or Wednesday when we actually had time to do so, but no, management nor corporate wanted to listen to reason. We were extremely lucky, and the storm turned away literally at the last minute, and we were spared the worst of it. However, when the next hurricane came around, corporate was very quick to tell us to close 2 days before landfall. Get us in the newspaper because we trimmed part of your tree in our yard? Okay. This happened about 2 years ago, and I still have people talking about it. So our neighbor, kind of a jerk, has these big oak trees, easy 40 feet tall, and their branches hung over into our yard. This began affecting how our grass grew because it didn't get enough sunlight, and my mom was working hard to get our yard pretty after some construction. So we went to the city, asked what we couldn't cut down, and they said anything over our property line we could cut. So we got to work. We hired a team with a lift to cut the trees, and all was well until the day after. We got a letter from the city and our neighbor. Now, the city was saying that we had illegally cut his property without his consent, and that we may be fined. Then the neighbors started doing things. I woke up one morning and was looking out my window and saw this fool driving through the front part of our yard, leaving ruts. We called the non-emergency line, and the police dispatched an officer to talk to him. Keep in mind we live on the water and have a nice view, at which neighbor gets on his boat and drives away. Then the next day, our house was in the newspaper being called, I shit you not, tree killers. Now, time for malicious compliance. The neighbor had asked us to never touch his trees again, and we said the same, to which he asked what trees. I said, you'll see. He laughed at me because I was young. I went inside and helped my mom find 15 12-foot plus magnolia trees that were still growing. We bought them. 4 days later, we had workers planting them in, and they completely blocked his view of the harbor in my area, which is beautiful, and he couldn't and still can't do anything. Another reason why was the day before he had a camera installed facing my bedroom window. We called the non-emergency line again, and he drove away on his boat again. I later began mocking him on the camera by putting ads of nursery homes in the area as he's older. When he got back, he was surprised. He came back to find the trees more like a wall and freaked out and yelled. Anyway, that's my story. I have a few more as well and will share soon. This is my first one as well, so yee! Not allowing me to drain my catheter bag? Enjoy the orange juice. So, a bit of backstory. I was born with a medical condition that required a penis reconstruction at 3, and had to start catheterizing at 21 to prevent scar tissue from closing up my urethra. This was back in 2009, when I had my last major penis surgery. The idea was that the surgery would be done, I would be sent home for a month with an indwelling Foley catheter to allow my penis to heal. Once it was taken out, I would start catheterizing. Okay, on to the story. A week had gone by since I had left the hospital and was able to walk around fairly well. Thanks, surgical team. I worked at a fast food joint back then and was fed up with lying around all day at home. My manager at the time was cool and allowed me to work the drive-thru booth taking orders. All I asked was to sit on a chair since standing with the catheter for hours on end is painful. Wear tracksuit pants as the work pants they give you were too tight around the catheter, and allow me to bring in a water bottle so I could drink without having to walk to the front counter when I needed a drink. All was good for about a week. The problem started when a staff member complained that I kept ducking out every 30 minutes to go to the toilet. Now, it's true I did, because catheters fill up and require emptying, but thankfully the booth and toilet were very close to each other. So the time it took for me to leave the booth, drain the bag into the toilet, and come back took about 15 seconds. The staff members held me up one day and chewed me out for being useless. I told him he was getting pissed at me for taking 15 seconds to drain a bag, but found it fine to waste 5 minutes trying to tear me a new one. In that time, I wasn't taking orders and he wasn't grilling burgers. The manager who allowed me to work had also gone on maternity leave, and the manager who replaced her was useless. The manager sides with the a-hole staff member and ordered me along the lines of, either bring a container with you to piss in, or don't come to work. We're not paying you to go to the toilet every 30 minutes. For those of you that have had catheters, you know what comes out of those. It's not just urine, it's blood and pus too. It needs to be drained. So from that day onward until the catheter came out, every shift I took a large drink cup, probably a medium in American fast food cup sizes, and drained the bag into that. I left the cup in the drive-thru while I was working and emptied the cup into the toilet at the end of my shifts. However, like I said, catheter urine comes with all sorts of nasty stuff in it, so what could have been drained and flushed down the toilet is now sitting in a cup, in the booth, for hours, and it was hot inside. Now, just on face value, it looked like I had a cup of orange juice. But to the trained nose, it smelled like it was juice squeezed from the oranges picked from Satan's orchard. The booth smelled like warm, fermenting urine, blood and pus, which customers complained about. The back area of the kitchen then began to reek of it. It got into the air vents, it stuck to people's clothes. The staff member who started it all worked in the kitchen, So imagine working in an environment already piping hot, only for the smell to merge with the heat and then hit you. Eventually, the useless manager scrounged up enough brain cells to realize that his solution created a catastrophe, and he allowed me to go back to draining the bag into the toilet as required. Oh, and in case you were wondering how I put up with the smell, that's easy to explain. I was born with congenital anosmia, meaning I was born without a sense of smell. Edit. In case you were wondering about my hand sanitation, I'd handled plenty of these catheters prior, so I made sure to carry both hand sanitizer and keep the valve dry and clean.
Well, that about wraps it up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and bell. By the way, I just started a Discord server for anyone looking to be part of the LaughNapkin community. Link in the description below. See you next time!